إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم يسر لي أمري واشرح لي صدري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم آمين. After praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending peace and blessings upon His Messenger alayhi salatu wassalam, I chose a topic that is not necessarily for the youth per se, for many reasons, and one of the general reasons is that the youth, I see them often. I see them maybe once a week, twice a week, once a month, but it is very rare, it is a rare commodity to find the parents in the room. So this is a ni'mah. So we have to utilize this ni'mah and take advantage of it. You see? So the topic that I'm going to speak about, inshallah, is marriage. Not how to stay married, not how to stay married or the conditions of marriage. No, but just the importance of marriage in our modern day society as Muslims living in America. Naam. I chose this for two reasons. One reason is because we are blessed to have the parents in our presence. And that's rare. That's rare. Second is, I will never forget a sister and a brother. A brother once approached me from the local community and he said, "Ya Sheikh, I want to get married. My mother is not allowing me to do so. My mother is opposing it due to whatever reason." Another sister in another state sent me a letter. And now listen to what she said. And I know some of you might take this lightly, but it's not really that light. She said, "Ya Sheikh, I cannot stop thinking about men." Now this is a sister in the duksi, in the muhadara. Now some might find that funny, and some might even say, "A'udhu billah, does she not have any haya to send a question like this? Ya Sheikh, I can't." Well, she should think about something else. Tamahal, take your time. First, I admire the sister for having the courage and the audacity and the haqq to raise such a question. These are things that one cannot control. Her thinking about men, you can imagine how many other brothers and sisters are either thinking about men or thinking about women. In other words, they want to get married. Now, what I think of immediately after reading this short letter is that this sister does not have the possibility of relaying or conveying this information to her parents. So she is literally boiling inside, and the only way she can go about it is by sending a letter to someone in the community that can maybe try to help her in any way, shape, or form. This is what I extract after reading her little notice. Because it's not easy for a sister, a Muslima muhajjaba, to write a letter to a random man and says, "Ya Sheikh, I can't stop thinking about men." And some sisters even here might still think like, "A'udhu billah, even though I might do that, I will never send a letter to a random man and tell him exactly what I'm thinking inside." Yet this is what happens when people literally become desperate. They do things like this. And I'm not blaming her. Wallah, not at all. I am not. She is not the one to be blamed. Naam. I would like to start off from a historical perspective. Here in America, marriage was considered an institution that was sacred, that was holy, that was respected. Naam. And this is because people in the public school system were receiving what's called a religious indoctrination. In other words, part of the public school system here in America, decades ago, around the 40s, 50s or 60s, and before that, they were receiving Bible lessons in school. So in other words, having sex or sexual relations outside the realm of marriage is not something that we will accept. Adultery, furthermore, min babi awla, is something that we do not entertain either. So they had biblical verses that they were reading and receiving. So it was a public school system, but it also had on the other hand side, it was a religious indoctrination as well. And this is why decades ago, America never knew anything about a baby dad, a baby father, and that's my boo, and that's my girl. And America never knew anything about this. But now, in our modern day, baby dads and baby moms is the thing to do. That's like being cool. That's my baby dad right there. Yeah. One baby mom, I got 4. So this is the problem. So now when people have children, it is no longer are you married? You had them out and you're not married and it's not viewed anymore like this. Why? Because American society shifted away from that biblical view, and shifted away slowly but surely into a secular perspective. Now, what does this have to do with us Muslims? We Muslims are living in America. And from what I see, when I see a lot of brothers and sisters that are wanting to get married, I see that some people start to now view marriage the same way non-Muslims view marriage. In other words, they look at marriage from the same lenses that the non-Muslims view marriage. And this is not correct in any way, shape, or form. You see, if you were to look at it, it's probably broken down into two categories. The first category, you will find that it is the media that's helping to portray this facade. It is the media. And what I mean by the media, I am not necessarily speaking of Fox News, MSNBC, CNN. I'm not speaking about the media outlets. What I'm speaking about is the media when I'm speaking of Desperate Housewives, when you speak of CSI Miami, etc., the soap operas, Days of Our Lives. I don't watch these. I know that they exist. I don't even have a television at home. So no one is to leave here and say, "A'udhu billah, the Sheikh watches Days of Our Lives? He has time for that." Wallahi, I don't. It's just something that you encounter, whether you like it or not. So in the media now, it's cool for you to go have a sexual relationship with your next door neighbor who is half your age. That's cool. It's enticing. It's exciting. But to be loyal and modesty and iffah and chastity, etc., it is not something that today it is viewed at a high scale. The same way that when you see a woman that's dressed half naked, she's complimented. Girl, you got it going on. Look at you. But the woman that's dressed in full hijab, she's kind of frowned upon. Oh, look at her. Is she crazy? It's 80 degrees outside and she's wearing that hijab. So things have started to change. And this is what we Muslims living in any society, we have to be similar to, I don't know if many of you are familiar with a ghurbal. A ghurbal is something that you sieve out. Sieve out. In other words, when you use the ghurbal, it leaves everything that's good. So that's the same thing with us. We have to be like the ghurbal. Anywhere we go, anywhere we set shop, Muslims have to take the good in society and they have to leave the bad. They have to take the good in that society. Do you know what good we can take from this society? Such as being on time. When someone says 3 o'clock, it's 3 o'clock. Not 3:45 or 3 o'clock the next day. Oh, I forgot. These are the good things that we can take from this society. Being on time, being punctual, etc. Right? Furthermore, this is from the media perspective. And the media is the one that dictates what is the norm. The media is the one that dictates to us what is the norm, right? Moving on, 3 other main reasons that I think we Muslims help impede the progress of marriage. In other words, we Muslims are held liable and responsible for slowing the progress of marriage for a lot of our youngsters, boys or girls, they are. The first one is the alibi or the excuse of they have to finish school. They have to get their master's degree, and then she has to get her PhD. After getting her PhD, she wants to get another PhD off of Mars. She got a PhD on Earth. Now she wants to go get another PhD on Mars, or the same thing for the brothers. So the school, a lot of times we use school as an alibi, as an excuse. The second is ghala'ul muhur. Ghala'ul muhur, we start to become extravagant when it comes to the demanding of the dowry for our daughters. So we have someone that's either going to college, studying, and when he comes and asks for our daughter's hand in marriage, the first thing we say is, well, the dowry is going to be $5,000 or $10,000, some extravagant amount. Now, if the person can provide that, he's well off, that's a different story. But for a college student that is barely getting by and working a part-time job, that becomes very difficult. So when he hears this amount, now he's deterred from getting married because he can't provide that extravagant amount. He can't provide the $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 to get married. So what does he do next? He looks for other means. So now you have to provide for her, and you have to provide for your new mother-in-law, and you have to provide for your mother-in-law's sister in another country, and the list goes on and on. So a lot of the men are somewhat deterred from getting married because they cannot afford it financially. The third reason that I think impedes the progress of marriage, and we Muslims are held liable for this, is the tribal problem. Or he's not from our country, he's not from my tribe, he's not from my region. I think this also helps in impeding the progress of marriage. And we will see after that a lot of these reasons that we think are legitimate, they become consequential when you look at the aqibah, or what happens after that. So having said that, if we looked at it from a different perspective, we can say that we have, according to what with the analysis that we just gave, marriage is about, let's say it's 8 doors. 7 doors of them are wide open and they don't even have doors. That's zina. The road to marriage and purity in iffah has 1 door. And that door is literally, it has a lock on it. So it's hard to even get it open. This is what our youth are experiencing today. And I think we as parents, we demand and we are asking too much of our youth. Now look at this from one perspective. On one side, we don't want them to get married. On one side, we don't want them to get married for, of course, everybody has their legitimate reasons. So on one side, no, you're not going to get married. I know what's good for you. I don't care what you're going through inside. Your hormones are probably reverberating from one side to the other. I don't care what you're going through. اصبر صبرا جميلا. Wait, be patient. So we don't want them to get married. On the other hand side, we don't want them to have boyfriends. We don't want them to have girlfriends. We don't want them chatting with the opposite sex on Facebook and Twitter, etc. So we don't want them to do this, and we don't want them to do this. What are they to do? Think about it. Parents, think about it. No girlfriend or boyfriend, and we don't want them to get married. Ya akhi, they are only human beings. They are human beings. And especially when our daughters, our youngsters, when they're going to the public school system, in which I am not flattered to say I went to a public school system not too far from here. Curiosity is a ghariza and a fitra in human beings. Curiosity is that when you've never been married, you never experienced being in love or never experienced being in a relationship, especially for the sisters, right? The sisters are more than men. You know, they sit there and of course you see all these photos and posters of a cavalier coming in one hand and he's al-faris al-maqdam and he's going to save the day. And you know, like they have in the movies sometimes, right? So curiosity, when our kids are in the public school system and down the hall, they see guys and girls groping one another, touching one another, or walking down the hall and a boy and a girl, they're holding each other's hands. Now the sister that's raised in the duksi or the brother that's raised in the duksi, he's looking at that and you cannot as a parent think that nothing is going through his mind. Don't expect for your son to be this angel or malaika. Nahnu bashar. We are human beings. So our kids, boys or girls they are, when they're at the public school system and they just got done passing by someone that gave another person a kiss, or kissed him in the hallway, or every hour, every period, this girlfriend is meeting up with this boyfriend. Our children, they become curious. Now they want to experience that because we always want that which is not given to us. Hadi, subhanallah, this is in the human being. This is in the bashar, the fitrah of the human being, is we want that which we are denied. We want that which we are denied. And curiosity led a lot of people into trouble. If curiosity is not nurtured or channeled the Islamic way, it will lead our youth to destruction. Wallahi, it will. So now, when they're seeing all this, they are curious. They themselves want to experience, how does it feel to walk down the aisle or walk down in the hallway in the school, holding a guy's hand? I want to experience that. Not me. A'udhu billah. Not me, not at all. But the sister, she might say, how does it feel walking down the hallway in school? I just want to see my future husband or whatever the case may be after class, after science or after physics or whatever the case may be. And the brother says the same thing. How does it feel to walk down the class or to meet after school or hold a girl's hand or go to the movies? Because when they're in the public school system, this is what they're hearing each and every day. They're talking about when they're going to meet at the movies, they're going to go to this and that party. So parents, we can't act as if we're living in this utopia. Now, another question arises by itself. Is some parents say, no, my child was raised at the Duksi, alhamdulillah, she's finished memorizing Quran. And my son as well, I gave him a good tarbiyah. His mother is righteous, I consider myself righteous. My kids will never think about doing such a thing. Think again, rewind. Do we, as a parent, do I have a problem just trusting my daughter or my son? Or do I have a problem not trusting the appendage that is constantly on them? Now one might ask, who is their appendage? Their appendage is shaitan. I trust my daughter and I trust my son, even though he's only 15 months, I trust him. However, when we say I trust my daughter and I trust my son, no one is to doubt that. But I trust the shaitan that is constantly whispering to them to commit that which is haram. So no one is to say, no, my son, he will never think about that. He comes from a very good family. Or or we talk about our daughters. No, alhamdulillah, she was raised with haya, with the hijab, and she knows what the right from wrong. Are we better than the companions? And if you believe so, raise your hand. Who in here thinks that they are better than the companions? Raise your hand. No one. How many in here are happily married? No one? Wow. Well, maybe we should have talked about something else. Okay. On a serious note, brothers and sisters, when I say the trust issue, is it a trust issue or not? I think of the Sahabi radiallahu anhu that committed zina, thumma rujim. He's still a companion, but he committed zina. Al-mar'atul ghamidiyya, she committed zina. She became pregnant and she came to the Prophet ﷺ and he told her that when you give birth, come back and then nuqimu alayk al-hadd. So think of our society today where everywhere you look, zina is screaming, me. You get on the internet, you're checking your email, there's that poster girl on the side. Looking for a date? Call me. I'm in your local neighborhood. Do you know some married men are affected by this? They cannot hold themselves and they fall into the cracks of adultery and zina. Let alone a young boy with hormones reverberating from each and every side. What do you think he's going to think? A'udhu billah, I was raised on taqwa. And if that's the case, that's good, but it's very rare and it is very, very difficult to do. Anywhere you look today, you can fall into the cracks of zina via telephone, via email, via Twitter, via YouTube, via anything you want. Zina was never as easy as it is today. The cracks of zina. So we parents, we have to be aware of that. So if we're asking our parents, our children to stay away from zina, and we're not allowing and we're not making marriage easily accessible to them, we are asking for the muhal. We are asking for the impossible. We are asking for the impossible. The society that al-mar'atul ghamidiyya, the society of the Prophet ﷺ, can we say that it is way more pure than the society that we are living in today? Rhetorical question, right? Without a shadow of a doubt, it is. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu said something that resonates with me until this day. Listen to this. He says, لَوْ لَمْ يَبْقَ مِنْ أَجَلِي إِلَّا عَشَرَةُ أَيَّامٍ. Look at this. He says, لَوْ لَمْ يَبْقَ مِنْ أَجَلِي إِلَّا عَشَرَةُ أَيَّامٍ وَلِيَ طَوْلُ النِّكَاحِ فِيهِنْ وَأَعْلَمُ أَنِّي أَمُوتُ فِي آخِرِهَا لَتَزَوَّجْتُ مَخَافَةَ الْفِتْنَةِ. Listen to that. What does that mean? He says, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said, if I only had 10 days left and I had the strength or the physical capability of getting married, and I know for surety that I will die after the 10 days, I would have gotten married out of fear of falling into the cracks of zina. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud lived in the purest societies humanity has ever seen. Yet he says, if I only had 10 days left, I would have gotten married out of fear of falling into zina. What are we to say? If Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was living with us today, I think he will say, if I had 10 minutes left, and that's being nice. If I only had 10 minutes left in my ajal, I would have gotten married out of the fear of fitna. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, in his society, he didn't see women wearing tight clothes and half naked. None of this existed. It was a pure society. So what about our society now? So if you're expecting this from your child, from your boy, from your girl, from your daughter, we're expecting too much from them. We are expecting too much from them. As I said earlier, and I will reiterate, I have no problem with the trust issue, but we have a problem with the shaitan that's constantly whispering to them to commit that which is haram. So why do we get married to begin with? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَّوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. So, لِيَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, it is to establish, one of the meanings of zawaj is what? It is to get sakina. Sakina is tranquility. Some people that are married don't even have tranquility, let alone not being married. Think about it. In our society today, to really practice ghadd al-basar, which is to lower your gaze, you have to either walk like this or you have to drive like this. And if you drive like that, you're probably going to hit a car. And if you do it more than one time, you're probably not going to get insured. So you look this way and you're like, A'udhu billah. You look this way, it's worse than what you look in front of you. It's literally impossible. Ikhwati fillah. So we have to be aware of that. We have to be aware of that. If we look historically in retrospect, marriage in Islam was made very, very easy. Marriage in Islam was made very, very easy. The Prophet said to one companion, he says, "Iltamis laha walau khataman min hadid." Get for her, if you don't have nothing to give for her, get for her even if it is a ring out of metal. Now we're not encouraging that. No one is to think that all I am saying is, I'm suggesting that we get for our daughters is piece of metal and give it to, no, buy her a legitimate ring and let it cost $1,000, $2,000. I'm for that, that's fine. However, marriage was made very easy. One of the companions, radiallahu anhum, I remember the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his mahr for his wife, his future wife, was what he memorized of the Quran, and then he would teach her that miqdar that he memorized. Very easy, very easy. Not like today, well, she has to have this, she has to have that, because my daughter's the last one breathing. She's beautiful and gorgeous. She's the last one on earth. At least that's what some of us might think. And that's not true. Daughters come and go. Men come and go. Wallahi, they are precious to us. But we can't act as if it's the end of the world and the world is going to stop turning if this. No. We have to keep going. Right? One of the most beautiful stories that I like to narrate is the story of Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib with his student, Kathir ibn Abi Wada'a, radiyallahu anhum. Kathir ibn Abi Wada'a was a noble student of the noble Imam, the noble Tabi'i, Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. So Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib noticed that one day that his student was not a part of the course or the lecture or the muhadara. So he asked about his student. News got back to him. He said, "Where were you?" He said, "My wife passed away." Listen to this. He said, "My wife passed away." So Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib radiyallahu anhu, when he heard that, the first thing he said, he asked him, he says, "Halla akhbartana." Why did you not tell us so we can help in the burial process? He said, "I didn't want to bother you guys." His second question, he says, "Hal ahdatht?" Immediately after that, he said, "Did you get married? Did you marry again?" So the student said, وَمَنْ يُزَوِّجُنِي وَلَا أَمْلِكُ إِلَّا دِرْهَمًا أَوْ دِرْهَمَيْنِ. Who's going to marry me and all I have to my name is $1 or $2. Not that, it's nothing substantial. So Sa'id ibn Musayyib radiyallahu anhu, he said immediately, right there, he says, أَنَا أُزَوِّجُكَ ابْنِتِي. I will marry you, my daughter. Beautiful. Very, very beautiful, very simplistic and easy and to the point. However, The man is perturbed. The student now, he's married, he has a wife as his responsibility. So now he leaves, he goes home, and he was making siyam. So when he broke his fast, all he had to eat was water and zayt, water and olive oil. So someone knocks on the door at night. The student says, Man fil bab? Who's at the door knocking? The person says, Sa'id. The student said, I thought of every Sa'id that I knew at that time, but I never thought of my own shaykh, of my own teacher. So he opens up the door, and to his ultimate surprise, he finds his shaykh in front of the door with who? With his daughter. Allahu Akbar. These are the people that we should focus on imitating and being like. SubhanAllah, he opens up the door, he finds his own teacher. Next to his teacher, he finds who? His daughter. So he literally pushes her in, and the man is perturbed. He doesn't know what to do. Now, so the moral, and at the end of the story, the student it was a routine for him not to go to the dars or to the muhadara of his shaykh. So the shaykh asked, so the student, before going to his father, his shaykh's lesson, as he would leave, she would say, Ta'ala, where are you going? I'm going to your father's dars. I have to go continue my expedition of seeking knowledge. Do you know what she said? She said, Ta'ala. علم سعيد عندي أنا أعطيك علم سعيد. The ilm, the knowledge of Sa'id that you're going to get, I have it. Don't worry about going to Sa'id. I have the knowledge that you're going to. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar is all one can say. Marriage is a beautiful thing if we make it beautiful. And it's not if we don't. Wallahi. So brothers and sisters, if we were to maybe try to go in the consequences are not beautiful at all. I spoke to a sheikh recently in Ohio. He said to me that a sister came to the masjid pregnant, not married. This is a sister, muhajjaba, a Muslim sister, came to the masjid. The sheikh was telling me this. She came to the masjid pregnant. I know many of you are thinking, A'udhu Billah, how can she do such an atrocity? What was she thinking? Okay, leave all that to the side. Now it's done. Now one might ask, there are many factors that one has to consider before a girl or a guy runs away from the house. There are many factors to consider. There are many things that one has to put into perspective. Now remember that father earlier that said, I don't want to marry my daughter because the man is from another tribe? Do you remember that father in the very beginning? If that father knew that his daughter would come one day pregnant from the guy that she ran away with, do you think he would still be thinking about another tribe? Think about it. On one side, he's going to marry her to a tribe that he's not too fond of. The sharaf is not that high, according to him. Or for him to have his daughter come back later on pregnant. What would he prefer? He would probably prefer to marry his daughter to someone that the daughter is adamant about marrying, even though he's from another tribe. So a lot of times we as parents, we sometimes are the reason for a lot of these things to happen later on. Right? If sometimes you'll find a sister that wants to marry a man, and I personally know of this, a sister wants to marry a man, the family is refusing. They are refusing not because of kafa'a, because of other reasons. So the daughter, what does she do? She runs away from the house. In your community, can we agree that the name of the family, is that something that is honored in your community? Ismul A'ila. Is that honored? Yes, it is. Very honored. I know back home, if you spoke of a family and you're looking to marry from that family, all you have to ask is the name of the family. They will tell you to marry from them or no. So let's press rewind quickly. Sometimes, some people are looking to get married from so-and-so. When you mention the name of the family, they say, oh, a'udhu billah, do you know they actually have one of them ran away and the other's living in another country, the other's living with her boyfriend. Think about this. So that parent that's worried about the whole tribal issue, now the family name is literally in ruins and is tarnished because what? Because he was not given the permissibility for his daughter to get married. So sometimes he thinks it's of hikmah, but when you look at the consequences, it becomes very problematic. Sisters, sometimes they get so frustrated with their parents because their fathers are not allowing them to get married, they run away. They run away, and through that period of being young and their hormones are flying everywhere, they either maybe get pregnant, they catch an STD, they catch HIV. Well, this is a possibility. No one is to X these out. Who is she going to be mad at for the rest of her life? Think about it. Who is this daughter, this precious daughter, this muhajjaba that was raised in the duksi, now catching something out there, that young age and the peer pressure? Who is she going to blame for the rest of her life because now she's either pregnant or inflicted with AIDS, syphilis, herpes, whatever you might think of? Who is she now going to be mad at for the rest of her life? She came to you as a father and she tried to be direct with you. Abi, I need to get married. Now I know I'm thinking of La La Land because I know this does not take place as easy as I'm saying. So brothers and sisters, al-amru jiddu khatir. It is very important. Right? So the consequences, if we just shut it off as if it doesn't exist or as if it's not a problem, it becomes a very big problem. Na'am. Also, for those that are using school as a reason, a lot of people use school as a reason. Before I leave, I'm here for the youth. I'm here for the youth. I'm here to vouch for you. And I'm here, inshallah ta'ala, to take it to the Senate floor for you, for the youth, for the youngsters. So thank me later when you see me, inshallah. Before I leave, I would like to end with this, inshallah ta'ala. One might ask, well, you gave a lot of reasons on why we should get them married, etc. As a parent, me as a father, I have to keep an eye on my son. We as parents, we can't just be like zombies. We have to be engaged in our children's lives. We have to be engaged in their lives. My son, when I'm out with my son, he's 15, 16, 17, is he lurking around looking at girls? When I'm up here, he's like this. You as a father, we as parents, we have to keep an eye. Our daughters as well. Are they lurking around to guys? We're not talking about ghadd al-basar, but are they interested? Are they curious? Or my son, he might be 18, 19, he's not worried about girls. He'd care less. He's not worried about girls. Or our daughters, there might be those that are not worried about getting married or looking at man. Is he cute? Is he not? Oh, look at his dreads, look at his braids, mashallah, all that good. Maybe she's not worried about that. But me as a mother, I have to keep an eye on my daughter. Is she at that curiosity stage, or is she doesn't care less? The same thing for our parents. My son, is he lurking around everywhere, or he's not worried about it yet? If he is, I have to be the one to approach him. I think we need to get you married. Yeah. Are you ready? And I talked to him about the process of marriage. On Facebook, is he out texting girls? I have to know what my sons are doing. My daughter, I have to know what they're doing. I'm not talking about spying on them. No. But I have to know who they're befriending and what they're doing, etc. So if the eyes are lurking around, that's probably time for some family time. Let's get to know each other a bit better. Come here. You see? So brothers and sisters, it's very important. Second is, one of the main problems is that there's a hijab. What I mean by hijab is not the scarf. There's a hijab between the daughters and the mothers and the sons and their fathers. If we do not remove this blockade, the only people that will suffer are the parents. If the daughter does not have the open door to freely go speak to her mother about what she feels inside, dear mothers, please listen up. Please. If your daughters do not have the free will to come and knock on your door and talk to you about problems that they're facing and that they're experiencing, this is a problem. Because your daughters, if they don't speak to you, dear mother, and if you don't give them the attentive ear, they're going to go get it elsewhere. They're going to go get it from their friends in school and their girlfriends, and they're not going to be as wise as you are, inshallah. So we have to take them seriously. If your daughter mentions marriage, you drop everything you're doing to listen to your daughter. What does she have to? You want to get married? Okay, hold on. Because if we don't take them seriously, and you're going to get married, wallahi, sometimes you will find brothers and sisters that they're at school or they're doing something and they're looking at themselves in the mirror so their parents can take them seriously. Okay, how do I approach my father? Abi, no, that's Arabic. I gotta, Dad? No, that's kind of like too American, right? Father, I want to talk. So, wallahi, in their practice, and their sister too, you know, she's probably talking with her friends. And I know this happens. The sister's probably speaking with her friends. How can I approach my mother in a way where she's not going to think, oh, you're just thinking about guys? Oh, that's all you can think about? Right? Can't you think about your school? So when our kids come to us and they talk to us, so what I'm trying to get to is that they'll practice before coming to us, and what we do is we shut them down as if they're still 5 years old. You're thinking about marriage? Are you serious? Get away from it. They're serious. They're serious. And you come and you just X them out. This is a problem. So if this barrier, or if some daughters, and I'm willing to guarantee this by a poll, if we did a poll right now, I am sure there will probably be some daughters that will say, I can't talk to my mom. I can't just go to my mom and tell her I want to get married. That's a problem. Or the father, if a son comes to and talks to his father about marriage, the father will probably look at him like he's still 5 years old. I know what's best for you. I know what's better for you. You are not to get married now. So we have to take what they tell us seriously. Naam? And one, I would like to just offer some solutions to this, inshaAllah ta'ala. This idea, I asked a father, and I'll be done in 5 minutes. 5 minutes, please. Is that okay? 5 minutes. Just quickly, a father once, I asked him about his son. He said he's going to medical school. I asked him a question. I said, he introduced me to his son. He was in his late 20s. I said, oh, so is he married? Do you know what the father said? No, he's still going to medical school. Right. Because medical school and marriage is kufr. They don't go together. This is wrong. How many girlfriends are we having throughout the college years, etc.? We have to consider all of these variables. Right? Furthermore, I would like to offer the concept, the solutions to our problems. First, this barrier between the parents and the youth, this has to go. It has to be demolished today before tomorrow. Because if it is not demolished, and if it is not eradicated and brought down, the only people that will suffer are the parents. Wallahi. And we've seen earlier analogies of that. Second is, they can continue school. If you want to get your PhD and you want to get your PhD sister, there's nothing wrong with that. Get your PhDs and continue going to college. What is wrong with going to college and being married at the same time? This idea of no, don't get married until you start making a 6-figure income is completely irrational. No. Now you can afford a home, now get married. No, why is that? Let me continue going to school. So then that curiosity is no longer there. My daughter is not curious about many things. My son is not curious about many things because they have it at home. They have it readily available for both of them at home, not at school. Right? And one last thing. We as parents, we have to facilitate the marriage process. If my son if he's going to college, it's not going to be a free ride. I'm not going to completely and wholeheartedly support your wife. No, I will support your wife financially. I will also give you a monthly stipend, but you also have to continue going to school and get a part-time job. You have to assume a part of the responsibility. You're not just going to throw it completely on me as a parent. But me as a parent, I have to help my son support his new wife. And they can live with me in the basement if needed. Or they can have the upstairs for themselves. People think that you have to have your own apartment, your own house. Ya akhi, man kallafana bihadha. This is not mandatory. Right? So there are many alternatives. Wallahi, there are many alternatives. But I will drop everything that I am doing to make sure that my daughter does not fall into the cracks of zina. And I will also drop everything that I'm doing to make sure that my son does not fall into the cracks of zina. And as we mentioned earlier, the cracks of zina are more than one can count. And the cracks of iffa are really, really odd, and they're becoming a rarity. If I said anything that was correct, it's from Allah in Him alone. If I said anything that was incorrect, it's from minni wa min ash-shaytan. Shakar Allahu hudurakum. May Allah reward you all. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I hope this was of great benefit. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.